All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast. We are recording at you live from Atlanta, Georgia, meaning today we talked about Smokey and the Bandit. My name is Zach.
This is Gary.
And, what? Why are you already laughing?
Well,
hey,
because
no one paid to be in this movie. Everyone was actually paid by the movie, as opposed to Transformers, which we have a slight edit from last week's Transformers
Do
episode.
we?
Well, I sent you the actual trivia thing from the Transformers episode. Tyrese Gibson paid to get to be in the movie, be offered the part in the movie. He paid to get the part in the movie.
Right.
Then he made money off of the movie.
Okay.
So he wasn't in the red from making Transformers. He just paid some movie exec to get him a role in the movie. So quick edit from last week.
I still can't believe that my man Tyrese
just paid.
Oh, man.
But
Tyrese,
no,
I like Tyrese.
yeah, we're not even talking about that this week. However, we might talk about it next week.
No, maybe.
Because we're talking about Smokey and the Bandit. What do you think? You've seen this movie so many times. This was my first full watch through of it.
Really?
All sitting in one spot, watching it all the way through. To be honest though, I felt like I had already seen it, and after watching it, I was like, oh, I got the gist of it.
You did, and that's the whole thing. Is that the Smokey and the Bandit? Okay, iconic movie of the 70s. It made
Incredibly iconic.
It made CB radios big.
Oh,
It made being a trucker cool.
Yeah.
It made the Trans Am skyrocket.
Oh, yeah, which we'll talk about later. But also,
amazing, yeah.
Also, something. So, going back a second, this was kind of the movie that started this idea for this Unnamed Movie Car podcast.
Yeah.
Because we talked about something that we'll talk about later.
Okay.
But
wait, do I know this story? Did you?
Yeah. No, you know that story. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But this was sort of what kicked it off.
Yes.
And this was just such an iconic movie for the both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally lost my steam. I forgot where I was going with that. I had a point to make, and I totally
did you have
lost
a point?
steam.
Did you actually?
Yeah, maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows?
No. But yeah, about how it came to be. Wow.
Totally
okay,
remembered.
Go ahead.
The song Convoy.
Yep. Yes.
Because
yes,
this started because I became obsessed with the song Eastbound and Down.
Right.
When I did a review in December of a Ford F-250 from 1991. It was this big, rusty, tan pickup truck with a flatbed on it, a diamond-plated flatbed on it, and I was reviewing this truck, and I just kept listening to Eastbound and Down, and I'm like, this song fits this truck so perfectly.
Okay. Gotcha.
So then after that review, I started when you listen on Spotify, it starts recommending songs.
Yeah.
And the song Convoy. You know the song. I forget
absolutely,
who it's by, but it's a song
We got
Convoy.
a big old convoy through the night. Hey.
We crashed the gate doing 98.
Say, let them truckers roll 10-4.
Yeah, so I became obsessed with this sort of music, and then we started talking about Eastbound and Down, and then we started talking about Smokey and the Bandit.
We did.
Then I mentioned the idea that we should do this podcast. So thank God. I don't know what episode even this is.
I don't know either. I've lost
9,
track.
I think 9.
Yeah, I think it's 9.
So we finally, after 9 episodes, have gotten to the Smokey and the Bandit. So I just want to mention Convoy because you said that you told me that Convoy was also sort of this 70s song that praised trucking.
Yes.
Made it cool to be a trucker.
It did. It really
and
did.
It was CB radio culture, which I still want to try to find a CB radio to fit my RX-7.
Oh, that would be
great. It's an 80s car. My friend who has that Subaru DL, I believe it's a 76 Subaru DL. It's brown with a brown interior.
Awesome.
I mean, this was one of the first Subarus imported to the U.S.
Yeah.
And he has a 4-foot whip antenna. For a CB radio, and the CB radio's mounted under the car's stereo.
Yeah, we're totally getting a CB radio for your RX-7.
Oh yeah, if I can find a cool spot. Well, actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to wire a radio into that car.
Really?
Like a stereo.
Why?
The previous owner. I mean, we went through it this weekend. Obviously, we got the car started.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Not to totally date this podcast of March, but. We were going through the car, and there's so many. The guy put an aftermarket stereo into it.
Yeah,
and we're pretty sure he ripped out the original
Okay.
stereo like wires and stuff.
Yeah.
But then he also took the stereo system with him. So he left absolutely nothing. So we might have to pull up the carpet in order to run speakers and stuff like that, which would just be the biggest pain in the world.
Yeah, but I've done that before.
Yeah.
And I would be willing to help you with that because I know it's a pain. It takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, but
I just wouldn't be looking forward to it.
No,
well
worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. And you can then hook up the stereo system the way you want it to be.
That's true.
Rewire it exactly the way you want it to be. Start from scratch. No, you can totally do it. I think we kind of need to do something with the Model A.
Yeah, we need to find a way to do that stealth.
Yeah, I want
I don't want big
boom box.
Yeah, see, I don't want like a sub box. Like
sub box.
What I think we should honestly do
Yeah.
is, that storage under the front seat.
Yes.
I think we should just make that house all of the speakers.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And I think down at the foot.
In the back?
Yeah,
the back?
like facing the rear passengers down at their feet.
Actually,
we put in little speakers or whatever.
That's a great idea.
But
there are so many holes in that car. It is literally open for wiring.
The only thing is, are we going to wire a stereo to a 6-volt system?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Thought that through yet. I think
we do have we have the new alternator for that car.
Yes,
but I don't know.
Yes.
Once that doesn't mean that it's ready for a stereo.
Especially stereos nowadays are probably we could use an inverter and bump it up to 12 volts. And then stereos don't pull as much power as they used to. I mean, the speakers do. Yeah. And if you have a preamp and stuff.
I think we really only need like 2 speakers.
Yeah, we don't need a lot in that car. So anyway,
so
Eastbound and Down, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The other thing you need to know about this podcast before we get back into Smokey and the Bandit is like we're father and son, and this is like the most talking we do. I mean, like obviously we talk, but like we never sit down for like an hour and a half.
No.
So yeah, sometimes we might talk about groceries or things that I need or something.
This is like life. This is.
But Smokey and the Bandit, directed by Hal Needham. Second film we've done by Hal Needham.
Exactly.
Starring Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, and Jerry Reed.
Yes.
So
Jerry Reed, very cool guy, I think.
He wrote Eastbound and
Oh
Down.
yeah.
Okay.
So he's.
I didn't know if you knew that or not. I was ready to like surprise you with that.
No, what was funny, I greatly admire him because he did a great part in this movie. He really was that snowman. He was that character, and that's what people said about him.
Remind me again, who was the other guy in Top Gun? Wasn't he also Snowman?
Could have been.
Wasn't it Top Gun and
Iceman? Maybe?
Iceman. Never mind. All right.
Snowman.
Same
cone.
but different. Yeah.
Yeah. Snow cone. Whatever.
But go on with Snowman.
So Snowman. So Jerry Reed, was, a very big country western singer.
Of course.
And he literally wrote this whole Eastbound and Down. He wrote it very quickly, put it together, played it for Hal Needham, and said, "Yeah, I put this together. What do you think?" And Hal Needham said, "If you change one note, one word,
that's in the trivia.
Yeah, I'll be very upset with you." So,
and it went on to be Jerry Reed's top song. I mean, that's his. Yeah. That's one of his number one songs.
Yes. And what's funny is that in the movie, he's singing while he's driving.
Yes.
And he's like, "I should be in Nashville."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he is and was,
yeah.
and it was. But that was iconic, and he actually did 3 different songs for the movie. And they did this movie really cheap too, by the way.
Oh yeah. So. It was what, $4 or $5 million.
Yeah, I think so.
And the box office ended up, I think, being $300 million.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
But what I found interesting is I was going into Jerry Reed's what? Why are you laughing?
Did Jerry Reed pay to be in this movie?
No, okay. No, I don't believe so.
Maybe,
but he went on to do a bunch of music scores for other movies. He did some Dukes of Hazzard stuff too.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah.
And then his IMDb is full of his reprises of Eastbound and Down.
Okay.
He redid it for a Family Guy episode.
Oh.
He redid it. There was actually Eastbound and Down was a movie.
Yes.
But had nothing to do with Smokey and the Bandit or anything like that.
Yes.
It was a 2009 movie.
Well, there is an Eastbound
with Danny McBride.
Yeah, there is an Eastbound. It's about like a baseball team or something, or a baseball player.
Yeah.
And that's on, I think it's on Netflix or Amazon Prime.
Probably.
Like that. Anyway, so yeah, I saw that just today.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what is that? So anyway.
But also, so this triggers the paradox and our big conversation of,
okay.
Again, another reason we started this podcast was, is it eastbound and down or westbound and down?
Right.
So I found a video online. I hadn't seen the movie in a long time.
Yeah.
And it was Smokey and the Bandit, westbound and down. Because like I do this really dumb thing where like when I get like a song stuck in my head or something, I'll just listen to it on YouTube all the time.
Okay.
Even though I have like way better music players, but I'll just like search it on YouTube or whatever. And I found it was Smokey and the Bandit, westbound and down.
Okay.
And I was like, I thought it was eastbound and down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got into the comment section and everyone was losing their mind. They were like, I swear growing up it was eastbound and down. It was eastbound and down.
Right.
And then I went on to this forum post where someone was like, it's eastbound and down, but then if you got the special edition record for the movie, on the B side there was westbound and down. And it's this Easter egg. And then I was like, maybe they didn't use it for the movie or whatnot. But then I watched the movie today, and there's eastbound and down and westbound and down.
And both. There's both.
And westbound and down plays first.
Yes.
But
yes,
eastbound and down plays at the end.
Right.
Well, it plays during, but also at the end, there's like a reprise of Eastbound and Down, which like sort of solidifies it as like the song.
Which is what I think a lot of people remember, but they don't realize. And so I think I explained that before, was that when in the movie, when they begin their travel and they go to pick up the Coors beer, big shout out for Coors beer.
Yeah, no kidding.
They are heading west. So the song goes westbound and down.
18 wheels a rolling?
Yeah, something like that. Because when they come back, you hear the song
eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking.
Right. So it's actually really pretty clever how they made that song really fit the movie and fit that. I thought it was great. And I
thought it was great too. I thought it was so funny that people were like starting to lose their minds of like, I grew up with it this way, because like
it's the Howie Mandel effect.
It's the Howie Mandel effect. And I was literally talking with a friend last night about how memories are super malleable. About how like you can change your own memories, not even on purpose.
Yes.
And we actually got into a whole talk about how, there's certain brain diseases that don't allow you to separate what's true and false and whatever. Yeah. And that's where schizophrenia comes into whatever. But that sort of comes into play, I think, for a lot of those people. They were like, I just remembered it as eastbound and down. And I mean, it's like 4 words that change.
Right.
So your mind just says, "Oh, this was the one from the movie," and you just wipe westbound and down. Gee, it's kind of a tongue twister. You just wipe it from your memory.
Yeah, that's totally true, and it is. I just heard something that said that basically every time that your mind goes back and recreates a memory, it changes things.
Right.
So, yeah, there is that very much that Mandela effect. I always love to call it the Howie Mandel effect. Because that makes people go, wait a minute, maybe it isn't the Mandela effect. Maybe it's how.
There's actually a great Mandela effect going on TikTok right now.
Uh-oh, about what?
So there's this account. I forget the name of it, but this guy, you know the movie Click with Adam Sandler?
Oh, yes, sure, yeah.
So he photoshopped Seth Rogen onto the cover of Click. And he's just been making videos about it. Yeah. Like it's normal.
Really?
And so he's like, like Seth Rogen's Click is one of my favorite movies. And he shows on the screen there's like a special edition one that he has, and it's Seth Rogen. And like he plays it off like it's real. And the comments are people losing their minds. Yeah. Because they're like, so someone was like, I remember, they're like, I come from a timeline where Adam Sandler was in Click. Like, they thought that, like, the timelines got mixed up or whatever. Yeah. But it's literally this guy just playing a joke. Yeah. And then he finally made a video, and he's like, guys, there's been a lot of controversy. I didn't mean to, like, startle everyone so much. And then he goes, like, this was all a joke. This is meant to show that you'll believe anything that you see. And he pulls the cover off, and then it's some other actor as he's like, this is the real cover.
Right, yeah.
And then it just keeps going on.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that he's standing in front of a wall of DVDs in this TikTok, and right before he walks in, there's a Herbie, the Love Bug, like movie facing forward, and it's a PT Cruiser. He photoshopped a PT Cruiser instead of the Love Bug.
Hilarious.
And people are like, wait a second, I swear Herbie was a bug.
A VW bug.
Not
of course
a PT Cruiser.
Of course it was.
It's just
a
great
PT Cruiser.
Mandela
Holy crap.
effects.
Wow.
But, I mean, like, Exhibit A is Eastbound and Westbound and Down. Which I couldn't even find Westbound and Down on Spotify.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't find it. So
wow, that's very
it's like a
interesting.
very elusive, like, you know, unless you're a diehard fan, you don't really notice it.
Yeah. That's really no, it's true. That I always remembered as Eastbound and Down.
Right.
But then you had said Westbound, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh, that's very clever that when they're going west, they say Westbound and Down.
Which makes sense
fine.
because maybe not in the 70s, but now someone would certainly say, well, they're actually traveling west right now, and they're playing Eastbound and Down?
Right.
What? How does that make sense? You know? I don't know. The 70s were probably different. They were probably like, whatever. Let me roll a doobie and drive a Volkswagen.
Hey, the 70s were awesome, man. Don't put down the 70s.
70s were not one of my most favorite decades.
No, by the way,
cars sucked from the 70s.
Just a fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
The worst fashion ever of
100%.
any epic or timeline in any period of history ever.
I want you to know
was the 70s. Yeah. What do you want me to know?
That fact wasn't fun. I just want you to know. You lied to me. That's strike one for this podcast. You've lied to me once. That was a terrible fact.
That was a great fact.
But like
70s,
I've driven a couple 70s cars, and like it's always cool to drive something from the 70s because you're like, this is 40 years old. This is a piece of history. Whatever. This is Vietnam. But they suck. They all suck.
Yeah.
And actually,
pretty much, yeah.
I've reviewed.
Except for the VW bug.
Oh, the Volkswagen. Okay.
Volkswagen.
You know what? I was like, I've only reviewed 3 cars from the 70s. I've reviewed like 6 or 7 cars from the 70s.
Okay. So you lied.
I know. Strike one for me, I guess.
I can't trust
Volkswagen Carmen Ghia 74 was great. Volkswagen Bus was also 74.
Oh, that's cool.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I drove a Chevy van. A 77 Chevy van, which was brown.
That's a creeper
van. With brown flames.
That's a creeper van. What, did it have windows?
Yes. It had circle custom windows, and it had the brown shag carpeting inside that went up onto the walls. It was a camper van, and it was part of like van culture and stuff. I also reviewed a brown Volvo from the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Which
a lot of
actually
brown
drove
cars in the 70s.
Decent.
A lot of brown
And then
cars.
I did a Triumph TR6.
Yeah, those are cool. Those are fun.
And actually, I just got an email about some other 70s stuff.
Okay.
So I guess I should speak nicer on 70s cars. But
yeah, no, 70 cars. I mean, it's.
So let's talk about the 70s cars.
Okay.
Let's talk about the ones from the movie. First of all, I mean, front and center, obviously, the 1977 Pontiac Trans Am. Now, I found online that some of them were 76s with the 77 front end put on them.
Okay.
Because the headlights are slightly different. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I don't know how many cars they had at this point.
So for the movie, they only had 4 cars. They only had 4 Trans Ams.
Okay.
But it's a 1977 Pontiac Trans Am, 6.6 liter V8 with a 4-barrel carburetor and 4-speed manual, which makes it's a second generation of the Pontiac Trans Am. Something I always remember with the 4-barrel carburetor is Archer.
Yes.
When he gets a Trans Am. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And was it Lana? Is that his girlfriend's name?
Yeah.
Lana says that she won't put her baby in anything with a 4-barrel carburetor.
Yeah.
I just always remember that line.
Yeah, but didn't he get he didn't get a Trans Am, did he?
Was it a Trans Am? Maybe it was something else. But I just remember
her
saying
Charger or Challenger or something.
maybe.
Like that. I think it was a Challenger.
Great show, by the way, Archer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A lot of references. But what we were talking about, cars kind of sucked in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1977 Pontiac had about 220 horsepower. And it had a top speed of 110 miles an hour.
Did it really?
Yeah. Which, you know what else had a top speed of 110 miles an hour? Exactly.
Our G6.
Another Pontiac product.
Yeah,
Our
geez.
2007 Pontiac G6
Wow.
with a 4-cylinder.
So we went as fast as Smokey and the
Oh,
Bandit.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then,
That's scary.
so this was one of the trivia facts.
Yeah.
A 2019 Toyota Sienna minivan
Mhm.
has 296 horsepower
Wow.
and a top speed of 115 miles an hour. So a new Toyota Sienna, actually, well, before they went hybrid,
Yeah.
so with the V6, has more power and a
Mhm.
higher top speed than
Yeah.
the Trans Am.
So I think they should have used that for the movie.
It would have been a different movie for sure. But I just thought that was funny, just like the scale of it, because you think it's this really hot sports car.
Yeah.
But now, geez, what is it? The 70s were, 40 years ago?
I'm surprised it didn't have more horsepower than that.
Well, that's stock. I mean, I guess it could have been modified for the film. No, he literally bought it at the beginning of the movie.
He bought it
So
at the beginning of the movie, yeah.
there wasn't this.
No,
well,
it's stock.
there wasn't a montage of him wrenching on it, so we
Right.
know it's stock.
Right.
But it's a pretty light car. I mean, you have to consider the Toyota Sienna is a full-fledged minivan.
Yeah, all
with
things considered.
7 seats in it.
All things
I
considered.
mean, and this had no crash safety, no airbags, no ABS. I mean, it couldn't have been that heavy of a
No.
car.
yeah. Okay, so trivia for you. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know this or not. My uncle had that car. Not the one in the movie, but actually a 77 Trans Am.
I think
Honeycomb
you've told me
wheels,
this before. Yeah.
You know, the gold trim, the whole thing.
Was it black with the bird or no?
It was black with the bird.
Okay.
It was exactly identical. It had the T-tops, and his license plate was Sin, S-I-N.
Wow. Cool
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, so
Did he also smoke Marlboro Reds and walk around
He-
with his class ring on?
he probably did.
Yeah.
He did smoke.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
And he was, so you have to remember, he was living at the time, he was living with my grandmother, so his mother,
Nice.
who was as much of a holy roller as you can possibly
Yeah.
imagine. She actually started the church. So
Oh, good. Yeah.
So he's
Trans
driving
Am
around
with
in a Trans Am with the plate
bird.
Sin.
What do they
Yeah.
call it? The
It's
the
very
devil's
interesting.
chicken or something?
Probably, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, could be something like that. So that was very interesting to me. But my brother George got to drive the Trans Am, which was
I would
awesome.
love to drive a Trans Am.
I think I drove it once. I
Okay.
think when I was getting my driver's license, I think I was allowed to drive it once.
Now,
but
what's
that was it.
interesting is it's supposed to be a 4-speed manual.
Oh,
However,
really?
in the movie,
Yeah,
I swear, there's a clip
yeah,
where he's hitting the brakes,
yeah.
and the brake pedal is a big rectangle, which
Oh.
would mean that it's automatic.
Right, exactly.
Manual cars have the same size clutch as they do the brake, typically.
Yeah, right.
Typically.
Exactly.
They
but-
don't have that giant brake pedal.
Right. And I don't remember. That's a good point. I don't remember him ever shifting gears. Putting it in drive.
It
or
says
whatever.
that there is a scene of him shifting gears,
Oh, maybe.
but this is not reliable.
Yeah, I
the
don't know.
trivia, I'm pretty sure the one in
Yeah.
the film was automatic.
Yeah.
Which would have been a 3-speed auto. So him doing
Oh.
110 miles an hour,
Yeah.
it's probably like, yeah.
He's like it's a
God, the car I drove today was a 2-speed automatic.
Yeah. 2-speed automatic.
2-speed. Yeah,
okay.
57 Thunderbird.
Wow.
It was either a 2 or a 3-spead. It said
That's
online
worse
it
than
was
the
a
Model
2-speed.
A. The Model A is a 3-speed.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, like automatics, like back in the
Automatic.
day, were mostly 2 like 60,
okay,
50s
alright.
and 60s automatics were 2 speeds.
Okay.
Especially like the Ford Falcon. The Ford Falcon was a 2-speed automatic,
Okay.
which is
I'll give
it's
you that.
just so funny because it's like
that's it.
And that's it. I mean,
that's
that's all you get.
Yeah, that's it.
It's so close. It's essentially a Tesla. Teslas have 1-speed transmissions.
yeah, which is weird. But
yeah,
yeah.
which Teslas are weird. But the other car was a 1977 Pontiac Le Mans, which was the police car. Which was interesting because again, this was another time where the director Hal Needham actually went to Pontiac.
Yeah.
And was like, "Hey, I want to use these cars." And then Pontiac gave him 6 cars.
Did they give 2 Le Mans
2 Le Mans and
Okay.
4
and 4 Trans Ams?
which we'll get into later with the trivia.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was very interesting that they only gave him 6 cars. And then for the next movie, I mean, we could just get into the trivia now. But for the next movie, they were like, whatever car you need, you can have. For Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Really?
Yeah, they were just like, go crazy. Like, whatever car you need, we'll just send it.
Wow, because it was an amazing success. And it was made, I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe it was made in the same year that another very famous movie.
Would that movie be Star Wars: A New Hope?
Yeah, that's right.
It was only second in the box offices to Star Wars: A New Hope,
Yeah.
which is big chops. I mean, that's like the sci-fi movie.
So
the sci-fi movie.
Exactly. So for a couple of jamokes, I'm going to call Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham jamokes.
Fair.
They threw together this movie cheap, and it was second
with
only
barely
to Star
any
Wars.
Script.
Right. Yeah, it has a really terrible script.
Noted multiple times.
Many people said that.
What's
terrible
her name?
Script.
Sally Field said in an interview that there was no script.
Right. Yeah.
Now that I have a feeling that was hyperbole.
Well, yeah, there was a script,
but most of the sheriff's lines were ad-libbed.
Yeah. Johnny Gleason.
Because he's a comedian.
Absolutely. And I grew up watching Jackie Gleason on The Honeymooners, reruns of The Honeymooners. And so it was really weird to have him, when I first saw Smokey and the Bandit, to show him as this tough, really jerk character as the sheriff. And it was funny to me, but it was off-putting at the same time, because I knew him as the fun, lovable Jackie Gleason on the Jackie Gleason show, The Honeymooners. So to see him like that, it was like, oh wow, this is really weird. I don't know if I like this guy anymore. But I mean, I obviously respect the guy for all the stuff that he did. But he was very famous for not doing any. Jackie Gleason was very famous for not doing any rehearsals. He would just say, okay, let's just go. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Which I feel like if I were an actor, I feel like I would be that way.
Yeah, I would too. I would.
But because I feel like I just get an idea. Like when I do reviews, I don't sit there before the camera's on and like, what's up, guys? My name is I don't really think through it. I'm just like, let me drive the car, and when stuff pops up to me, I'm going to talk about
Here
it.
we go. Okay, what's up, Zach? Okay. Hold on a second. What's
up, guys? My name is Zach. Yeah.
No, I did it wrong.
I don't have to rev up to it.
No, that's very good. I'm the same way.
I feel like if I were an actor, I would just be like, let's just do the thing, and let's just have it flow naturally.
Yeah. I had to do a presentation for PricewaterhouseCoopers once, which is a big firm. Shout out, yeah. I had to do a presentation of some software, and I remember my boss going, okay, let's go over this. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fine. I'll just say what I need to say, and that's it.
I guess it really also trickles down to, I never practiced for a presentation in school.
Yeah, I get you.
I was just like,
way.
let me just flow. Yeah. And then I never studied for a test either. I mean, in college, I studied for tests and for stuff. But in high school, I never really... And I got by. I got fine grades.
Yeah, no, that's all good. I might have to stop here for a second.
Why? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, and we're back.
We're back.
Which
technical difficulty. You won't believe this. A wombat came into the studio.
It's amazing.
And I had a 9mm. I always podcast with a 9mm
always
next to me.
Always packing heat.
Little known fact, because this is audio only, I am strapped when I do this podcast.
Exactly. Always.
Because you never know what's going to come up in a pod.
It's a crazy. Well, we're in Georgia.
Right, we are in Georgia, which is wombat territory, I believe.
Yeah.
But getting back to Smokey and the Bandit, now the crisis has averted. Right. Do we want to get into okay, a couple things I want to talk about with the actual movie.
Okay.
First of all,
no. Whatever you want to say.
A lot of some womanizing. For sure.
Yeah.
Obviously not drinking and driving, but they're literally bootlegging alcohol.
Yeah.
And then the officer, I forget his name in the movie, Gleason, was like, oh, when I get home, I'm going to smack my wife.
Punch her in the mouth.
Punch her in the mouth, I believe is the wording.
Yes,
yeah.
Punch her in the mouth.
Which now would not fly.
No.
But I just thought that was kind of funny. Also, Second movie we've watched Burt Reynolds just kind of halfway kidnap a lady.
Yeah.
This
pretty
time
much.
in a sports car, last
Pretty
time in
much.
an ambulance.
He's a serial kidnapper.
I think the next movie he's going to kidnap a lady on a tricycle or something.
Or something, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. You're absolutely right. These are, I could have done without the whole scene about, they stop and they walk, Burt Reynolds and Sally Fields walk along this stream and they walk on this bridge over the stream. And so there's that whole scene. And so here's the other thing.
By the way,
yeah,
clock's ticking.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And
hey, we got this time to beat, but let's go for a walk.
Not only that, let's go for a walk. And then the innuendo, of course, they did it.
Right.
So they must have been really fast.
Right. And then also they're like, for the other thing is like, it doesn't really, the time doesn't really change.
No, exactly.
I mean, it's like always, it's like constantly 3 p.m. in this movie.
Yeah, that is true.
Like
it's always the same time
the
of the day.
shot where Burt Reynolds breaks the fourth wall, smiles at the camera.
Yes,
fantastic scene. But it's one of those movies you shouldn't think about logically.
No.
And I'm starting to really learn that most car movies you shouldn't think about logically.
No physics. No
Actually,
logic,
I can't think of a single one that you should. Transformers. Chitty
that was
bang,
all real.
bang.
That was scientific fact. Transformers.
Well, actually, if you look at the Boston Dynamics videos, we're actually not that far off from robots like that.
Boston Dynamics.
Oh yeah, those creepy videos.
Those
shout
are
out,
they
shout
are
out
they
Boston
are pretty,
Dynamics.
They
They're
are
gonna
pretty
end
creepy.
us.
They're pretty creepy. Yeah.
But I mean, if you really think about cars too much, sentient cars.
Yeah.
No.
I think every movie that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, can't think of that realistically at all. Yeah, they're all fantasy. It's a very interesting thing. You just came on that.
Are
that
all
they're all
car
fantasy
movies fantasy?
I don't know.
Ooh, you know what though? We're gonna get into some documentaries and some.
Okay.
When we do eventually do Ford versus Ferrari, that's a very realistic movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I have not seen that.
Which is a crime that you haven't seen it yet.
I
was even talking to Adam when we were working on the RX-7. He's like, "Your dad hasn't seen Ford versus Ferrari?"
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Big movie.
All right.
Movie.
Well, okay. Am I gonna fall asleep in it?
No, you're definitely not.
Did Bella like it? Did Bella watch it?
Bella has not seen it.
Oh, I thought she did. Okay.
No.
Right.
I actually went with 2 other girls.
Hey! Nothing. You didn't say nothing.
It's okay. No one listens to this podcast.
No, it's true.
It's all dogs that are home alone.
Yep.
And people that don't know how to work Spotify.
Right.
That's it.
Change the channel.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are two. That's our key demographic.
Yeah, they don't know how to turn it off.
But yeah, the passage of time is real wonky in this movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. You're absolutely right.
There's no way that they did this in 28 hours.
Well, and remember too, there's like almost instantly they're at the place where they're picking up the beer.
I thought that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Which actually, in real life, most of the traveling footage and the Coors beer place, and the spot that they, I believe, left from, were like 3 miles apart.
Really?
In real life, but like, but yeah, like when they're like loading up the Coors, I was like, wait a second, this isn't the Coors.
Right.
I mean, we're like minute 4 in the movie.
I know. It was like...
I think it was like 15-minute mark, but whatever.
It was like westbound and down. Oh, there they are. They're done.
Yeah, literally, they didn't even finish the westbound and down song. They're like, westbound. Yeah, and then they're like,
we're here.
Eastbound. Yeah, northbound, southbound. Heading southwest.
Northwest.
Yeah.
So, yes, they got there very quickly. Also, very unrealistic that they loaded that entire truck by themselves with a forklift. It takes a while to do that.
Anyone who's ever worked in the freighting industry,
exactly.
You know who you are. There's no way they could have stocked that truck that fast.
Yeah, and do you think those people would have been happy with the fact that they used their equipment, forklift and everything, loaded the truck on? They broke so many rules just by doing that.
Also, Burt Reynolds, I can drive anything. I can drive a forklift. Sir, you are not forklift certified. That's actually a big joke that goes around where it's like your boyfriend might be hot, but is he forklift certified?
It's
a common meme. But
I get asked that a lot. Yeah. So Are you forklift certified?
Yeah, back
Being
when I
a
was
writer,
single,
yeah.
that was the biggest thing that ladies would ask me at the bar is, "Are you forklift certified?" I had to keep saying no. Had to find a girl that didn't care about forklifts.
That's rare.
Yeah, that's rare. I mean, a lot women take freighting very, very
transportation,
near and dear.
logistics.
Yeah.
That's hot. That's
Oh,
really that is the it's the key.
If you really want to wow the ladies, they're actually called lift trucks.
Lift trucks.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Learned
Okay,
that from our,
let me write that down.
Yeah. Word to the wise today.
Yeah.
If you want to sound proper, they're actually called lift trucks.
All right, lift trucks. So the other thing
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to mention about all of that is the fact that Big Enos paid him at the very beginning to buy all of the beer. Remember?
Right.
When they got there, no one was there, and they left a note that Jerry Reed's character Snowman could not finish the note, so he just threw the piece of paper on the ground. So in other words, they still had the money for the beer.
Oh, yeah.
They never paid anyone for the beer.
That's something I didn't
So they
notice.
stole the beer.
Yeah, wow. A lot of it, too. Like 400 cases of it.
Exactly.
Which, like, it worked out to be like $16 a bottle.
Is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Sorry,
but
it's
also, just a slight, just tossing it in there that Jerry Reed's character was illiterate.
Yes.
He was like, and then just threw it on the ground.
Yeah,
it was like kind of a depressing moment.
Yeah,
I was
it
like,
was,
oh,
actually.
man.
It was kind of, But
-1 for being cool for truckers.
Yeah, that was kind of sad. That was very
also,
sad.
Snowman's dog was picked by Burt Reynolds because the dog would not listen to commands.
Yes. Right. And
they wanted like a dopey dog that didn't really listen.
It was a perfect dog for the movie. It was great.
If you want a dog that not listen, hire a dog that actually doesn't listen.
Right.
Which is always so funny to me. I think we brought this up before, maybe not on the podcast, but I find it so funny that dogs don't know that they're in movies.
Yes.
No animal has ever known that it was in a movie.
That is
like
true.
It wasn't like, hey, can we do that take again? Can we run that back? The dog is just like, there's a bunch of people here. Like, what's up? Like
yesterday, I watched a really, really awful movie.
Secretariat?
No. I watched an awful movie called A Talking Cat.
Oh, God.
Have you seen that?
No.
No, with the Interabangs.
What's it on?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And it's a really bad movie. Riff Tracks did
okay,
that.
yeah.
And they make fun of it because it's so bad.
Okay, for sure, yeah.
And it's a talking cat, ? Exclamation mark, question mark. So it's an interrobang. And it's like, what? Like, do they not even know what, it was just really bizarre and bad. But that cat did not know by any stretch that it was in the movie. And it's funny because at one point you see the laser pointer that they're pointing at the ground to make the cat look at something. You actually see the laser pointer around some shoes so that the cat will like sniff the shoes. It was really bad. It was really horrible. Anyway, so
anything else? Or do you want to get what?
No, I was just trying to think of so they picked up the stuff, they stole all the beer.
Right.
They bootlegged it across lines. And, for the obviously they made all the cops look like buffoons. I mean, that was the big thing.
You got to do that in a movie like this.
Exactly. And, there's plenty of cop cars.
I did enjoy the sheriff's son always holding the hat.
Yes.
When the roof was cut off.
Yes, that was
And then he walked
funny.
up and he was still holding the hat. I thought that was really funny.
That was, that was actually very funny.
But, yeah, I mean, we got to stop doing these cross-country car movies. But here's the interesting thing I was thinking about, though.
Right.
Why do we hold this one so near and dear to our hearts and not Cannonball Run or not Gumball Rally? I wouldn't say the acting was that much better. I wouldn't say the plot line was that much different. I wouldn't say they were more action-packed.
No, there was actually less cars, like less characters.
Yeah,
all that.
in Cannonball, Burt Reynolds lands a plane on the road. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And stuff blows up.
Yeah, all the time. Hard to say. I think it was more, I guess, I can't think of the name of the actor, but one person said that it was in the South. They think of Smokey and the Bandit as more of a documentary than an actual like a funny
slice of life.
They say it's more of a documentary of the South. So I think so many people were like, yeah, the rebel, and he's going to run fast and cheat the cops out. And they had actually, I have to say that Smokey and the Bandit had a very fun in this movie. They had a fun relationship where, for the most part, they weren't that.
I guess that is a good point where it's like this was a small enough cast where you could kind of latch on to Smokey and the Bandit and Snowman and it was this sort of two-part team where like with Gumball Rally there was like 8-10 teams and each one got like 5 minutes of screen time, so like accumulatively you never really got to bond or sit like
well, and also if you think about it too, almost none of the characters in this movie arc, except for Sally Field's character. She arcs a little bit. She changes a little bit.
She just like falls in love with him.
She falls in love with him, and I think she's. There's not too much change. Now that I think about it, there's really not much change in her character because she is kind of a wild, free spirit in the beginning, and she's going to get married for no good reason, and then she runs off with Burt Reynolds in a fast car, and happens to have all of her clothes with her. That's weird too.
I thought that was strange.
Yeah, very strange. So, I mean, it's okay. So none of the characters' arc. It's basically just a movie where they drive fast and it's a big car chase.
Yeah, but
it's a very big car chase.
I think the more and more I think about it, I think it is the important part of like it's Smokey and the Bandit. It is that small it's focused around really 3 people. As opposed to, I think Cannonball Run, I think it was so wide that like you didn't see yourself in one of those people, I guess maybe, or like.
True that because
it wasn't easily referenceable because I could be driving fast and be like, oh, I'm like the Bandit, or like where in Cannonball Run I'd be like, oh, I'm like those 2 girls in that Countach that we can't even name.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
So that's like because I do want to bring up I said. Not even 5 minutes ago, you just heard it. Like, why do we like this movie? I genuinely want to explore that. I'm not saying that we should like Gumball better.
This
is definitely better. I'm just trying to, pick apart why we think it's better.
Well, I think you're right. I think it has to do with the less characters. My biggest pet peeve in movies, whenever I see a movie, whether it's like one episode of a docudrama or whatever, whenever I see a movie and they cast people that look very similar, that are very different characters, and you're like, and they're not that recognizable, like they're very generic, like blonde female, attractive white male. It's like, okay, wait, is that guy? Who am I rooting for? It's like, but I love when movies have completely different characters that are completely
If the
different.
Marvel movies didn't have costumes, they all look the same. Chris Evans, Chris Pratt,
well, they have to have the costumes.
Robert Downey Jr.
I think,
they all look the same.
Yeah. I think Kramer versus Kramer, they should have had costumes.
Yeah.
And, everyone was dressed as superheroes.
But
I think every movie should be that way.
I think also, like, having such an iconic car really helped.
Oh, yeah.
Because... I just keep comparing this to Cannonball. Cannonball had iconic cars in it, but they were already iconic.
Right.
Like the Countach.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Where this movie kind of made that car iconic.
It did.
As we'll talk about later, I mean, the sales just skyrocketed.
Of course. Yeah, everyone wanted that car after they saw the movie.
Yeah.
And tons and tons and tons of people saw that movie. That was such a big movie. And the fact that it was such a... Cannonball Run is, like you said, too many characters, too many people running around. You couldn't keep track of anything.
Yeah.
Where this was very iconic. It was very focused. There were CB radios. There were truckers. There were Smokies. The cops, and the cops were the bad guys in this movie. And so, yeah, it was kind of a rebel movie, and it was like, how are they going to get out of it this time? And then it was fun when some of the people that knew the bandit,
Right.
and they were helping him along the way to make it to, Georgia.
Which I thought was a little far-fetched.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty personable person.
Yeah.
I'd say I have a fair amount of friends.
Yeah, you do.
I don't think anyone would do that for me. Like, I have a short list in my Rolodex of people that would actually block off a road for me from the police.
I think, and so part of it is, truly, and they talk about this in the extra edition.
Yeah.
They talk about the fact that when you have a CB radio, first of all, and it's true, you speak Southern. You have a Southern accent whenever you talk on a CB radio. You have a Southern accent. It's bizarre.
Yeah, Alex and I bought $5 radios from Walmart one night, and we're like, "How you doing?" Literally
this is hammer
car to
throwing.
car.
Yeah, exactly.
He was in his Infinity. I was in my Mazda, and we're just like 10-4, brother.
Yeah, those are very Southern cars, by the way.
yeah, two Japanese hatchback and a Japanese sedan.
Right. But no,
both from the 2000s.
But when you get on the radio, though, you do somehow strike up these things, because after that movie, our family got into CB radios, and it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
My sister had a CB radio,
right,
and a giant, I think it was like a 15-foot antenna that went above the house, and you could pick up truckers going along the highway near where we lived.
Which the highway's not close to.
No,
it
not
wasn't
that close.
like the next block over. It was probably 3-4 miles away.
Yeah,
maybe
probably a good 2 miles at least.
That on-ramp by the hotel that I'm thinking of?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's probably
So you could pick up people, and then you would you'd say breaker 19 for a radio check.
Yeah.
And then they'd come back, and then because they'd say, because then they actually mentioned that in the movie. He says, Bandit says to Snowman, "Hey, I'm on the radio," basically.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that, but he says,
Hey, I'm on the radio. I believe that was actually a direct quote from the movie. Does this thing work?
Hey, you guys.
You got your ears on, partner? But yeah.
So that is but it is true, though, that you would pick up people, and then they would tell you if you were coming across how powerful you were coming across.
Yeah.
And there'd be a little VU meter basically that would show how many, how good the signal was. So that was a big deal. So CB radios and that whole camaraderie between people that are on the CB radios, and then
it was a weird fraternity,
it was,
or brotherhood,
exactly.
or whatever you want to call it.
It still is.
Yeah,
it still is.
I mean, I'm sure even it's few and far between now. I mean,
so here's another fun fact.
Yeah. Oh God.
My same uncle who had the Trans Am.
Yeah.
Later, and up to a couple years ago, was a trucker.
Have I met this uncle?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you've met this uncle.
Interesting. Okay,
no,
we'll talk after the pod.
Maybe not. You might not have met him. Anyway,
we'll talk after the pod.
Yeah, we'll talk. So, but what's the reason why I bring him up again is he said as a trucker, he said the CB radio has gotten way out of hand.
He was Smokey and the Bandit.
He was.
He had the Trans Am. He was a trucker.
And he was a trucker, yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is he said that it's gotten really
I'm sure.
bad. And they joke about it, but it was a big deal back in the 70s. You were not allowed to swear on the CB radio. And you were supposed to get a license, but no one ever did.
Yeah.
And there was no way to
control it. That's like a fishing license. I mean,
yeah.
I remember going to our local Walmart to
we did that.
Get your fishing license, and it was literally a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you're okay. You could fish.
Exactly. And
are you really gonna pull over a kid? I remember as kids, we actually made a fishing pole out of a stick.
Yeah.
And fishing line and a hook.
Yeah.
What do you, are people is a SWAT team gonna swarm the local?
And
pond?
they did.
They
did.
Yeah.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Lost a couple friends to
get
that.
on the ground.
Yeah,
that's what they did. That's all they said.
But
it was
horrific. You want to get into some trivia?
Okay,
I
sure.
do
Let's
have some decent trivia here.
Good, thank you, because I have none as usual.
And I'll be honest, there's some of these big trivia ones.
Yeah.
That I read the first line of and then copied and pasted. So I'm gonna learn some stuff too.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
So this is, of course, as always, brought to you by, but in no way sponsored by IMDb.
Yes.
And shout out Craig Lieberman.
Craig Lieberman.
This is late in the show.
Craig Lieberman.
This is pretty late in the show to shout him out.
It is. And don't think I didn't remember.
Yeah. We always remember to shout out our boy.
Yeah.
So this is actually the first one. I should have mentioned this earlier, but Snowman is driving a 1974 Kenworth W900.
It was a Kenworth.
Now there's actually
Kenworth or Kenilworth.
Kenworth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now there's actually a conspiracy of what engine was actually in that truck.
In the Kenworth?
Yeah, which like who
cares?
I mean, like for real.
Seriously,
but
that's
people are like, well, they said in the movie that he's wearing a caterpillar hat in the movie, which would suggest that it's a Caterpillar-powered Kenworth.
Right.
However, people are saying like that sounds like a Detroit diesel, and then which is a company, and then someone else was like, no, for sure that's a Cummins diesel.
Okay.
And like so, people disagree about it. Who cares? But I thought it's a 1974 Kenworth W900.
Kenworth, 1974 Kenworth.
74, and I really like the design on the side.
Yeah.
The Bandit design.
So, that's totally cool. But I think if you think about it, if you're trying to evade the police and you're known as the Bandit,
wouldn't you want like just a white one?
Like a white refrigerator that says, like product co
U-Haul.
on the side or whatever. Yeah, those of what
U-Haul.
U-Haul. That's right.
Actually
that would be invisible.
There's a whole video, not series, but division on YouTube of people that stealth camp.
Oh,
and what they do is they buy old U-Hauls and outfit them.
Yeah.
And then they park them in parking lots, and it just looks like a U-Haul truck. But you go inside, it's like wood floors, a skylight.
See, I would totally do that. I would definitely.
There was a guy that made up a fake electrician company.
Oh yeah.
It was like some random word electrician, and he's walking around the outside, and he goes, "I got this big decal printed. It has like a swoop and like a mark on it, and it looks legit." And he's like.
Sure.
I made this up. I think it was like his daughter's name or something. Okay. He's like, I just made this up.
Genco or something. Yeah.
Something like that.
That's hilarious. I would definitely do that.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But more trivia. Hal Needham asked Jerry Reed to write the theme song for the film. A couple hours later, which we talked about at the beginning of the show, Reed presented Eastbound and Down to Needham. With an acoustic guitar, Reed started to play, and Needham immediately stopped him. Thinking Needham didn't like it, Reed offered to rewrite the song, to which Needham replied, "If you change one note, I'll kill you." The song went on to become one of Reed's biggest hits. Yeah. So we mentioned that earlier, but that's where we got that from.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's really amazing that they really threw this movie together.
Yeah, this movie was like... Yeah. Which... begs to raise the question again of why is this that much better than Cannonball? Because as we talked about with Cannonball, it was shot in a month and a couple days. Yeah. Tossed together.
So, I don't know about Hal Needham's other movies, but he did really well with tossed together movies.
The next trivia fact, the second highest grossing movie of 1977, next to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yes. Amazing. It's absolutely amazing that they came in second, Otherwise, think about it, that would have been the top movie. If Star Wars would have come out a year later or a year earlier, it would have been the top movie for the year.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean,
so
yeah.
In an alternate parallel universe.
Yeah. Where Steve Carell is the
guy in
the lead for the movie Click.
Yeah.
On the DVD commentary, Burt Reynolds says that a senior executive at Pontiac promised him a free Trans Am if the movie became a hit. It did, and the 1977 T-Top Trans Am became one of the hottest-selling cars of the year. When the movie became a hit, Reynolds expected the executive to come through on his promise, but the Trans Am never came. A few months later, Reynolds, who was afraid of looking like one of those pretentious stars looking for freebies, finally called Pontiac, and as it turned out, the executive that made the promise had retired, and the new executive refused to keep the promise that was made by the previous Pontiac Trans Am executive. It also said in the behind the scenes that the executive died.
It's possible, yeah.
The trivia here says retired, but I think he retired from living.
But that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
He retired from living.
He's in the cream-colored apartment complex in the sky, the retirement home.
Retired. Yeah. So what's funny too is that Hal Needham in the extras, if you watch the DVD extras, in the version that we have, he talks about the fact that Hal Needham says Burt Reynolds has a very bad memory.
Oh,
and so it's interesting you say that because he says, oh, yeah, Burt Reynolds goes, yeah, I told Hal Needham we were both, stuntmen, and I told Hal Needham he was breaking up with his wife or divorcing his wife, so I said he could stay with me, and he stayed for 8 years. And then they cut back to Hal Needham, and Hal Needham goes, yeah, he's got a terrible memory. It was 12 years.
So Needham lived with Reynolds for 12 years?
12 years. 12 years. That's a long time.
That's a long, long time.
Yeah.
That's, that's less than half of my life, but a
but
good
still,
chunk.
12 years, over a decade.
No, I'm 23.
Yeah.
That's more than half my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
So imagine.
I'm so young. I'm so young.
And I am so old. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's interesting that it explains why he did Cannonball.
Sure.
He was probably living with him at the time. And he was probably like, will you do my movie? No. Will you do my movie? No.
Yeah.
Fine.
I'm not going to do the dishes.
Yeah.
I won't take out the garbage.
I'm not going to vacuum my room.
Right.
Shut up.
Right. Exactly. No, he did. Wait, which movie came first?
Bandit.
Bandit came first.
Cannonball was 81.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right, because in Cannonball they mentioned
they make the reference.
Okay.
This movie made the Pontiac Trans Am a superstar. The
Mm-hmm.
Trans Am sales jumped from 68,000 in 1977 to 93,000 in 1978, and just 1 year later, it swelled up to 117,000 units sold a year.
Yeah.
Which I saw, of course, combative facts on this. I saw upwards of like 150,000 units were made.
Okay.
Like 2 years after the movie.
What's amazing? Go ahead.
No, I wasn't. I lost my train of thought. I lost steam again.
Okay, what it was amazing to me is how a movie can influence the general public like that. Unbelievable how much influence it has.
Well, I mean, if we want to go to last week's episode, the Camaro.
Yeah.
The Camaro from Transformers.
Yes.
They weren't even sure that they were going to put the Camaro into production.
Yeah.
Until they showed it off in Transformers. Again, like we talked about last week, it was a concept car that was fitted to a Holden chassis, essentially. Yeah. And then they ended up, selling out immediately when they actually released the car. DeLorean had the DeLorean actually still been around by the time that movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to remember when Back to the Future came out, DeLorean had already gone belly up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I cannot imagine if DeLorean was still making cars when Back to the Future came out.
Yeah.
Man, the millions of dollars lost there.
Oh, yeah.
All
absolutely.
because John DeLorean wanted to do a little bit of cocaine.
Some more cocaine.
Yeah.
Do another line there. That's great.
Yeah.
So why don't car manufacturers make movies?
That's a good point. I mean,
if they can push their cars so well by movies. Now, obviously, not every movie is going to be a hit, but
might as well try.
You might as well
and
try.
And this goes back to the conversation we had a while ago.
By the way, if any car manufacturers want to make movies, I will produce and direct them for you.
Yeah.
Just want to let you. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out, spitballing. That's all I'm doing.
Put it into the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like cars and video games, though.
Exactly.
I mean,
yes,
like
those are big. Yeah, that's a big deal. Obviously.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but like I can name a lot of the cover cars of Forza Motorsports.
Oh,
when Forza Horizon 1 came out, it was a Lamborghini. It was a yellow Lamborghini Huracan.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I actually finally drove a Lamborghini Huracan. I'm like, I drove it, and I'm like, this is the Forza Horizon car.
Yeah.
And then Forza Motorsport 2 was I forget the name of the color, but it was a burnt orange Nissan 350Z on the cover. Same with Need for Speed Underground 2 was a green Nissan 350Z on the cover with black doors. Like, stuff like that, like, it solidies cars in people's minds.
It does. It's a
Smokey and the Bandit.
Tremendous.
The DeLorean from Back to the Future. The General Lee.
Yeah. Oh, the General Lee, yeah.
Those cars are untouchable. And I'm really curious to see if the muscle car market would be the same without the General Lee. Would Chargers be so sought after had it not been for the General Lee?
Well,
I saw one in person today, And at the place I was working at, they
yeah.
have a blue one, mint.
Really?
Mint.
Okay.
It's a customer car though. It's getting work done, so I can't.
It's a Charger.
It's a '69 Charger
69
in
Charger.
blue,
Yeah.
with the black stripe around the tail.
Yeah.
Beautiful car, not a spot of rust, like
Yeah.
clean.
Yeah.
And that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the Charger would still be a sought-after car because it was a definite, iconic muscle car for the 70s.
But would it be as big?
Nah, I don't know. Maybe not.
And also, I remember hearing a story, which we should do Dukes of Hazzard sometime.
Yeah, we should.
But for the original TV show, they were using so many Dodge Chargers that they would hire people with airplanes to fly over local interstates. And they had a car on the ground. Yeah. And they would say, hey, there's a Charger coming up.
Yeah.
Mile marker, whatever. Guy would come up, flag him over, and literally offer to buy their car on the side of the road.
Wow.
That's how desperate they were for these
amazing.
Chargers.
Yeah.
And that's back in the 70s.
Well, okay, so that was before the interwebs.
Right.
And
before Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace
the
came
ticks
to
and
save us all.
talks and all of the Instagrams and all that. So before everything, before Facebook and all that, and so you did not have the ability to do that. Nowadays, you can get online and basically put the call out there. That was what happened with, and that was back in the 80s when we were called in to have the Model A be in the Untouchables.
Oh yeah,
that was.
We should do the Untouchables just cause.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea because there's a lot of cool cars in that movie. But we were called in because we were part of the Napier A's Model A group.
Yeah.
And so they were calling all the Model A groups, and this was before the internet as well. So they were calling all this back in the day, and that's how we got called up. So I could see that where they would have to actually physically go out there and try to find all of these different.
Just getting back to trivia, the Trans Am used for the bridge jump was completely wrecked after the successful jump.
Sure. I am absolutely positive.
Oh yeah, 100%. Which was one of the
yet.
4 ones. If you watch it back, there's no way that's landing.
Yeah.
But I just think it's so funny how this trivia fact is worded.
Yeah.
The Trans Am used for the bridge jump was completely wrecked after the successful jump. Is it that successful if you wreck the car? I mean, successful on film. They got the shot.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider that a successful jump when the car is obliterated at the bottom.
It didn't look like they had a landing ramp. It looked like it literally landed on flat surface.
Dude probably has a couple compressed discs in his back from whoever was doing that.
That is true. That would definitely be something that you'd want to do at the very end of the movie. Like that would be like the last stunt.
And they did. That was one of the last scenes filmed.
Yeah. That was an amazing, iconic scene. Of course, it's totally fantasy.
Yeah.
Because it just
that
doesn't
car
happen.
was destroyed.
Yeah, the car was just, and then you see him in the next scene driving away
totally
like
fine.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
could happen. Okay.
What I thought was interesting is that Needham, the director of this movie, was Burt Reynolds' stunt double in Gator.
Was he?
Yeah. Gator.
Wow, Gator. That very iconic.
So, for those of you who don't know,
Burt Reynolds movie.
Needham was a famous stunt actor.
Well, so was
stunt
Burt Reynolds.
performer. Right.
Burt Reynolds was a stuntman too, but
stuntman. Yeah.
He got into the.
But when he was directing Smokey and the Bandit, people were like, "What's this stunt guy doing this movie for?" And he actually, I don't know if I wrote it down here. No, I didn't. Needham actually got the idea for Smokey and the Bandit while filming Gator, because it was a California production team, but they were in, I believe, Florida or Georgia or something. And they actually trucked in Coors. And he was like, that would be a cool idea. He kept putting them in his refrigerator in his hotel room, and they kept disappearing.
Yes.
The staff of the hotel was stealing them.
Yes, because they couldn't get Coors.
Because you couldn't get Coors.
And he found out it was bootlegging.
Right.
So modern day
bootlegging, as opposed to, back in the Prohibition times.
Right.
Where bootlegging began. But I also thought it was interesting that the reason they didn't sell it was because it was unpasteurized beer.
Oh.
So it wasn't pasteurized. So apparently, what is it? was it east of Texas you couldn't get it?
I
East
believe
of Texas.
it was.
Yeah, so apparently you had to pasteurize your beer.
East
And,
of I think east of the Mississippi, isn't it? Or is it
Yeah,
Texas?
yeah. You're right.
I think it was east of the Mississippi.
But basically it had to be constantly refrigerated.
Yeah.
Or else it would go bad.
Yeah.
Whereas
So,
like typical beer just sits out now and because it's all pasteurized, blah, blah, blah.
So that Kenworth, was it a true reefer truck? Because it should have been if it was carrying the Coors beer.
It should have been.
It should have been
know.
a reefer.
I don't
That's what they
remember
call
seeing
them,
like a box on it.
Yeah.
I learned that from the Convoy song.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
reefer zone. Yeah.
We got a big old
Hal Needham saw a picture of a Pontiac Trans Am in a magazine and thought it up as a good product placement idea. He asked for 6 Trans Ams, but Pontiac would only agree to send him 4. Needham also asked for 4 Le Mans for Jackie Gleason's car, but he only got 2. By the time they shot the final scene, they had wiped out 3 Trans Ams, and the 4th wouldn't even start after all of the stunts. So another car was used to push it into the scene.
Wow.
For Smokey and the Bandit 2, Needham asked for and received 10 Trans Ams and 55 Bonnevilles with no trouble.
Wow.
So Pontiac was like, you made us so much money.
Yeah.
Just take whatever.
Yeah. And it's, that actually is a good example of ask for more.
Yeah.
Because you'll get less.
Right.
But ask for more. Especially when obviously they didn't know what the success of the movie would be and how much it would change them. And the sales of the car. I think it's maybe it's one of the first movies that really increased the sale of a particular car.
Herbie the Love Bug?
Well, okay, maybe that
what about
one.
that? I don't know, though.
That's pretty... I don't know.
I feel like the Volkswagen was already such a popular car. I think that was sort of the reverse of it, of like, hey, let's use this popular car instead of, hey, let's make this car popular.
Right. It would be as if you used Pontiac G6 in a movie,
God.
And made that the hero car, made that the star, because it's
terrible hero car.
It was fine. It was fine.
We should do a whole podcast though about like the critical balance of a hero car, because I feel like it needs to be special, but not over the top, if that makes sense.
Well, there's been a lot of over top hero cars.
That's true.
But
I feel like there is like a certain balance where it has to be like somewhat obtainable.
Yeah.
But not like for instance the new Batman movies, the Tumbler.
Yes.
Which is like that tank.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Car.
That's no kid's dream car.
No.
That's not increasing sales of anything.
No.
Even though it was a pretty predominant vehicle.
It was. And it was definitely a very identifiable vehicle, and it looked like it could be a military vehicle, that was then used for for Batman or whatever. But like you said, it's not increasing the sales of anything because it doesn't technically exist as far as I know. I think So
I just think that'd be an interesting topic of what makes a good hero car. Maybe that'll be like our Christmas special or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think about it because okay, so what would we put Batman in? Thinking of product placement, what vehicle would we put Batman in?
Ooh.
I mean, would it be a Tesla? Would it be a Tesla truck? That doesn't exist.
I mean, well, are we thinking like 2008 Batman?
No,
or
let's
like
pretend.
Today?
Let's pretend
today.
So we're gonna have to put a superhero, or we're gonna have to put some really iconic actor, and it's gonna be the star.
I think
car.
It would have to be some type of supercar. I mean, him being a billion gajillionaire.
True. Right.
I'm thinking right now, like, I don't know, the first car that comes to mind is like a McLaren P1.
Okay.
Which is like a hybrid supercar, essentially.
Okay. What about an attainable car? Because you're not going to go out and buy a McLaren. Because we're talking about, how could we...
Yeah, it's like
how could
a
we throw
$1.5 car.
How could we throw in a car...
Oh, God.
One car that you could use is a Ford Raptor. Lots of people have them. They're very popular.
Yeah, they're like 60, 70 grand.
But you see them around, and it's not unattainable. Just like the Trans Am, I'm sure that was very expensive, but to buy that. But
that's a good question.
You come out with obviously in different periods of time. Like for instance, the Viper would have been one. The Viper would have been in its heyday.
Yeah.
It would have been one of those hero cars that you could have. It would have been iconic enough that you could have done that.
Arguably, it was the hero car of the Test Drive video game series. You remember Test Drive 5 when we were kids?
Yes, I do remember that, yeah.
Which had a very terrifying menu screen. It started off with like these, it was like a 16-bit video of like these dogs on a chain barking.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do remember that,
It scared me as a kid. And then like the like screen, and it was all blue. But one of the hero cars was the blue with white pinstripes Dodge Viper. So it might have been the cover car too.
So that could have been a hero car. But nowadays, what is the hot, cool, sports car that could be a hero car in a movie right now?
Toyota Supra for sure.
Yeah?
Toyota Supra.
Okay. What about like a
Corvette C8 because they moved it to be a mid-engine?
It
looks, drives allegedly like a Ferrari. It's mid-engine like a Ferrari. It's a V8.
C8 is it?
It's Corvette.
C8?
C8 is just the generation.
Okay.
So it's the 8th generation of Corvette.
Okay. That's a good one.
I mean, with all black, I could see that. And they start at 65 grand. So that's a relatively obtainable car.
All right.
I mean, a Ford Raptor is like the same price.
True.
The Corvette's actually really obtainable. A Mustang GT350, which is it's a Mustang with a 5.2 liter flat plane crank V8, revs to 8250.
Jeez.
With a V8. I drove one 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When they first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think it's my favorite American car ever.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good.
Okay.
With a 6-speed manual.
Wait,
it's a V8.
Wait, it's a Mustang.
It's a Mustang.
Really?
That revs to 8250. 8,000 RPM in a V8.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing screams.
But it's the Mustang what? What did you say again?
It's a Mustang GT350.
Mustang.
They also make the GT350R, which is like a stripped-out race version.
Okay.
And they make the GT500, which is a supercharged version of the GT350.
Okay.
But I haven't driven that, so I can't really talk on that.
So that would be, to me, that would be a good target car.
A GT350R would be a great car. Okay, yeah. Right. I mean, it just has like the extra carbon fiber bits.
Oh, okay.
And, it has like the racing seats.
Fine, okay, you got that.
But I mean, arguably, that's what Bullitt did with the Mustang.
Right.
I mean, like the Mustang's kind of always been an obtainable, iconic car.
Mm-hmm.
Another movie I thought of this weekend that we should definitely do.
Okay.
Death Race.
Yes.
Death Race.
Which one? The old one or the new one?
I mean, both.
Well, the old one is
Death Race 2000. You mean?
Is it? Is that? Yeah.
Because it was filmed in like the 70s,
right?
But
so
it was
the
like
2000
the year 2000, and I remember they have an intro where it's like it's like a futuristic city, but it's there's this theme called retro futurism.
Okay.
Which is like what people speculated the future to be like when you were a kid.
Yes, hilarious, by the way.
Which is like bubble domes on cars,
everything's bubble,
flying cars,
curvy.
All the buildings being a completely different color of pink and purple and green and blue buildings.
Yeah.
Where now I always grew up with my future, like my futurism is like apocalypse, burning buildings. Ghettos.
Yeah, pretty much,
That's just what I've always grown up with. Like, that's going to be the future.
That's going to be the future. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because
it's not
true.
like big shiny buildings.
Right.
It's blown up buildings, and
it is funny to me how we always imagine the future as being this incredible, glorious. Well, at least in the movies, like you say, a long time ago. Now it's all apocalyptic. But it used to be that it was this wonderful, glorious age of...
If you ever really want to dive into a whole online, type into Google or Bing, shout out Bing, trying to get that sponsorship. I know you guys aren't doing much over there. Just type in retrofuturism. Retrofuturism.
Yeah.
So it's all like 60s and 70s artist
Which
renditions of like the year 2000.
Speaking of retrofuturism,
Technical difficulties number 2.
Wow,
the Wombat came back.
That's right.
So I had to get the Mac 11 out.
That's a scrappy.
And,
that's a scrappy Wombat.
You know, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. That Wombat will not come back for a third time.
Boom.
I don't know why we were talking about retrofuturism, but if you really want to dive down a hole on the internet, please go Google it or Bing it or shout out Bing.
Yeah.
Whatever they're doing over there. You know, there's probably there's a guy who's like the CEO of Bing. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's like the head guy
doing?
of Bing. I don't know.
Do you think he's like leasing a new Corolla or something?
I think he's like looking out the window a lot.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he probably has a window facing the Google campus, and he just has one unlabeled pill on his dresser side, and he just stares at Google.
That's right.
I don't know why I even brought up retrofuturism.
I don't know, but
because we're talking about Death Race 2000, because we should do Death Race, the Jason Statham one.
Yes, we should do both.
Prison,
and then
I loved that movie growing up.
Yeah, actually you did, and it was fun to see the cars in the Volo Museum.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
Which I might actually have a contact at the Volo Museum.
Oh, great.
I'm trying to work on that. So
Good. So,
getting back to trivia
I
of
was
this
gonna
movie.
say,
I mean, we
trivia of
really
Smokey and the
sidetracked
Bandit.
here.
Yeah, we went
I only
to
have
Guam.
Yeah,
on this
pretty
one.
much.
Yeah.
I have
From Georgia to Guam.
I have 4 more trivia facts.
Okay.
At the 127 mark, you see Bandit shifting the Trans Am. While most Trans Ams had an automatic transmission, the car in the film had a 4-speed manual transmission, which was available with the optional TA 6.6-liter V8, which actually made 220 horsepower as opposed to like 180 or something.
Oh, okay.
But it says in here that it's a manual. I don't remember that in the movie.
I don't remember that in the movie.
Which is interesting that neither of us remember that.
Right.
So I don't know. IMDb could be
It might have
lying,
been Howie Mandel effect.
Howie Mandel effect for sure. The Trans Am used for the bridge jump was fitted with a Chevrolet engine, according to Hal Needham. Don't know what difference that makes because Pontiac was owned by Chevrolet.
Right. What was the?
All right. It was probably honestly a Chevy 350 engine.
Yeah.
Which is just a smaller engine, which has probably made it a lot lighter.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is probably if I was doing that, I don't know cars like Craig Lieberman knows.
Craig Lieberman, don't you dare disrespect his name by mispronouncing it.
I didn't. I was just gonna say it. I don't know cars like Craig Lieberman knows cars. However, if it were me doing that stunt, absolutely, I would strip out the cars. I remember when I had talked to people in the industry when we did the first film festival, we had actual stunt drivers come.
I remember that.
Yes, and they told me, they said when they do have cars, okay, number one, they tend to rent cars. When they're doing,
Quick side note.
Yes.
They did a demonstration.
Yes.
At the film festival.
Yeah.
In rented cars.
Yes.
And do you remember what cars they rented?
Uh-uh.
Pontiac G6s.
No, those were G6s?
Yes, they were doing stunt things in Pontiac G6s.
That was really wild that we actually got stunt drivers to do stunt
Yeah, I remember it was like they did like the skid into the parallel park.
Right.
Like we just ripped the e-brake. And I remember those were Pontiac G6s, the car that I drove to high school. And, well, Porsche, like one semester of high school, and then my entire college career I drove the G6 to school.
But you drove the truck to school too.
Yeah, mostly. And then
then your RX-7.
And then I drove the RX-7 for a semester.
Yeah.
And then I drove the G6 for the second half of that year when I
whatever.
When I blew
We're
up
not
my
going to talk
car.
about it.
When
Yeah.
I blew up my car.
Yeah. So I would have. They told me, and I would have done the same thing, is to lighten the car as much as possible. So
right.
just put in a real basic engine. Basically, it's like a go-kart.
Well, actually, what our Lord and Savior has told us, Craig Lieberman, in one of his videos,
Wow.
actually, most of the Fast and Furious cars, they put Chevy engines into them. It's an LS engine.
Oh, okay,
which is an LS series. It's basically a Corvette Camaro engine, and they're like, with a couple bolt-ons, they make about 500 horsepower. So it's plenty of horsepower for every car that they build. All the old muscle cars that they drive, they just put LS engines into them. And then if they have a problem on set, every other car has that same engine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's having a, just, well, I don't even think I think they're coil on plug ignition, but like a distributor cap or something they could pull from another car. They have a whole parts truck. They only have to stock parts for one type of engine. So if one of the cars breaks, they just...
That's actually a great idea to do that, to switch them out.
He said that a lot of like the old muscle cars they build and all stuff like that. Obviously not like Subarus or the RX-7s. Obviously they still had, the rotaries or the flat fours. But a lot of the muscle cars that they deal with, the Road Runners and Dom's Charger, it's all LS engines because they just you could still buy them from Chevy. You can just buy a crate engine and just plop it in.
Right.
Which is great. And they're stupid reliable. I mean, they're truck engines too. The Silverado is an LS.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I could throw a stone right now here in Atlanta, and I would hit a car with an LS engine in it.
And the car doesn't have any rust because we're in Atlanta,
right? Which is beautiful. Although we do have a lot of mud.
That's true.
Clay.
A lot of red clay. Yeah, a lot of red clay. You're right. Absolutely. So
2 more. Trivia facts.
Are we talking about Smokey and Bandit? What are we doing?
Barely. I mean, it is. If you've listened this far and you're like, wow, these guys can't stay on track, you've been listening to the wrong podcast. Like,
we are the sidetrack. Yeah, we
literally our images are crumpled up pieces of paper, and we're okay. Near the end of the movie, one of the 2 Georgia State Patrol cars that block the entrance to the fairgrounds, the Oldsmobile, is equipped with an airbag, which was very rare for the 1970s. General Motors did offer the airbag as the air cushion restraint system in 1974 as RPO AR3 in full-sized Buick, Oldsmobile, and Cadillacs after it was experimented in some 1973 Chevy Impalas used as test mules, which the whole culture of test mules is very interesting.
Yes.
The airbags were used in conjunction with the knee blocker on the instrument panel. GM discontinued the system after 1976 model year in response to low demand.
Exactly.
The airbag did not deploy in the minor collision, but did deploy when they purposefully wrecked the car years later. So it didn't deploy in the movie, but it was later deployed. The car is shown in an airbag safety film used in some traffic schools.
Wow.
So if you were in like the 80s or probably 90s or honestly probably like today, watching a safety an airbag safety video, what you're seeing is a car that was used in the movie Smokey and the Bandit.
Wow.
Which is kind of neat.
That's kind of really cool. I like that. Yeah, I think it's very cool.
And I can just imagine that like faded colored VHS of like
with the little bands going across the bottom, and because it's all ripped.
Your car is fitted with an airbag system, and like I don't know why fonts for titles were like yellowish.
Oh, they were always yellow.
They were never pure white. They were always. It's very
yellow.
much a digital thing, is having actual pure white titles.
Yeah, there were reasons for that back in the day of video and the beginnings of video, when video was not. I mean, it wasn't when it first came into being. I don't know why. I don't know why, but the fonts were yellow. I mean, yellow was what we used for like everything.
Yeah. Even nowadays, a lot of subtitles still are yellow.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't really know the reasoning for that. And to the point where like I've done like subtitles as a joke in some of my videos, and I just yellow the text a little bit just to give it that right quote unquote feel.
Well, sometimes yellow is used because it gives enough contrast on different backgrounds. So if you have a white background, if it's a dark enough yellow, you can still read it. If it's a black background, of course, there's a lot of contrast. You can still read it. So yellow is used a lot because it has a lot of contrast, even over white. Now, of course, if you're going over yellow, of course, it's not going to have the contrast.
Yeah.
But
yellow is probably found less common than white is in a frame.
It is. So you'll have like beiges, like this room we have in Georgia right here. You'll have a lot of browns, blacks, whites, and blues, things like that. Of course, blue and yellow are really contrasty. So yeah, that's the reason why it's usually used. Sometimes they will also do when we used white, we would use white with a black outline. So
right,
that
yeah,
if,
that's what I do now, yeah.
So if it's over something white,
Yeah.
it'll still show up. But anyway, you didn't have those options back in the video days. Okay.
Last trivia fact, and then we'll get to our final thoughts and get on to our next movie.
Okay.
Sheriff Buford T. Justice drives the 1976 Pontiac Le Mans in the film. In some commentary and other trivia, many people seem to think that he drove a Pontiac Bonneville. Sheriff Justice does not drive a Bonneville until the sequel, Smokey and the Bandit 2. So that's a word to the wise, you morons. He didn't drive a Bonneville.
It wasn't a
It was a Le Mans. So that's the final trivia fact I have for you.
That's very cool.
I really enjoyed this movie.
Did you?
I would not turn the channel if it was on.
If this was
on,
it's
a fun campy movie.
Yes, it is a fun campy movie. I would not turn the channel. I might actually stop what I'm doing to watch some parts of it, but I probably wouldn't watch the whole thing again. It really wasn't one where I'd watch. I liked, it's one of those, again, you can have this on when you're working on something else and you just catch the scenes.
Well, that's
fine.
In the behind the scenes, the portion that we watched with Burt Reynolds, he's like, this is a Saturday afternoon movie.
A rainy Saturday afternoon.
Where you're probably going to watch another movie after.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's like
this man had no confidence in any of his films. Cannonball Run, he said that he hated the movie, or he wasn't really happy with the movie afterwards. No. It doesn't sound like he's super proud of Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, describing it as an easy Saturday morning watch on a rainy day, I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't have much confidence in either one of the two movies that we reviewed. But that having been said, he didn't, but they were huge movies.
Right.
Both of them were enormous movies, even more than some of the other ones that he was in. Obviously not Deliverance. Deliverance was like, huge, and that was just like an amazing movie. But, there was a lot of movies that he was in that people don't even remember anymore. Mm-hmm. And, I just think it's funny that and these were huge moneymakers.
Right.
So I don't know.
So yeah, I would not change the channel, but I don't think I'd stop what I was doing. And this is also one of those movies where, like, you see it once, like, you kind of get the idea. like you don't have to sit and watch. Like, it's not one of those things where, like, oh, what's gonna happen now?
Right.
It's
like, wait a minute, go back because I want to see what happened. No, there's not anything like that.
It's kind of like,
it's not a brain.
You get the point of it.
Yeah.
It's a very easily quotable movie.
Yeah.
It's not really even quote. I feel like there's not a whole lot of quotes, but quats.
Wow.
Jeez,
you just created a new word there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of quats. There's not a lot of quotes. However, it's very easily referenceable.
It is
driving with your friends on the highway. You'd be like, hey, we're like the Bandit.
Well, and even Hal Needham said in the DVD extras, he said that the point where you said it before, that Burt Reynolds drives in front of the camera and then turns to the camera and breaks the fourth wall and looks directly into the camera and smiles. Hal Needham said the reason for that shot was to say, we're just having fun here.
Yeah.
This is just a fun movie. We're just having fun. And that's it. That's
mission accomplished.
Right. That is exactly.
In my book.
I agree. Same.
So this was your pick.
It was my pick, and just another thing, just way off to the side. Tomorrow's Taco Tuesday for us. Just want to
Oh, cool.
Again,
thanks.
see, this is something that we just you're gonna run into our
I figured.
actual life.
I mean, you've always been
Taco
doing
Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday, and we're gonna do chicken tacos. I think so.
Chicken tacos. I like the chicken tacos.
Okay.
Cool.
So,
I like the chicken tacos.
So anyway,
chicken
tacos.
Side note, Taco Bell just came out with the quesalupa.
Quesalupa?
It's a chalupa with a quesadilla as a part of the shell.
All right.
Had it the other night. Pretty good.
Was it good?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I did.
Bought two of them though. $9.50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, speaking of laughter, which we weren't, one more little side note that I thought was funny is that when Burt Reynolds, in the very beginning, when he looks up and he sees
what movie is this?
Smokey and the Bandit. When he sees, when he sees, I was going to say Bert and Ernie, but when he sees Big Enos.
Oh yeah.
For the first time, along with his son, and he's sitting there and his hat is down. they basically put his hat down and said, "Okay, we're going to start the scene," and he didn't know what they were going to look like when they walked up to him. And so he tips up his hat.
Yeah.
And he laughs, and he said, "That is the most genuine laugh that I've done." He said that is a pure, genuine laugh.
I didn't know that. That's fun.
So that was fun that they did that. I love when
real reactions are used.
Yes.
Yeah.
When directors, one of the things that directors like, that I can't remember the name of her name, but she's the director for Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm.
She said one thing to the actors. She said, react.
Acting is all reacting, baby.
That's right. It's like writing is all
I'm
rewriting.
sure that's like on like so many syllabuses of acting schools
sure.
in Los Angeles.
Just remember, kids, acting
is
reacting.
reacting.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's
because
great.
when
I didn't know that genuine ism is great.
It was the same idea that they had for in Die Hard at the very end of the movie where the character is launched out the window.
Yeah. They did that for real. He died.
No. Yeah, because then Alan Rickman did not go on to do Harry Potter. Okay, so thank you.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we didn't get Snape.
Yeah. So Alan
It's actually
Rickman.
a deep fake.
Yes, exactly. So what was the name of his character in the movie? I can't. Hans Gruber.
Yeah, Hans
Gruber.
Very good.
So Hans is about to fall, but what they did was they told Alan Rickman. They said, "Hey, we're going to drop you." And I guess it was a pretty good-sized drop into an airbag. But they said, "Okay, we're going to do it. Okay, ready? 1, boom." And then they let him drop. And so what they did is they filmed it in slow motion. His reaction
is real
because he didn't realize they were going to drop him that quickly.
Yeah.
And so that was real. And they wanted that reaction like, "Oh, my gosh, this is actually happening." So
that's
very cool.
another, like the scene that comes to mind is you never watched The Office, the show, did you?
I did.
Did you watch it all the way through?
No. I saw like a couple.
Well, the
episodes.
scene where
I got the point.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Michael Scott's leaving the show, so Steve Carell is leaving the show, star of the movie Click, and Steve Carell is leaving the show, and all of the employees. They rewrote the song like 525,000.
Oh yeah.
Actually, funny tie-in because one of the lyrics is "That's like watching Die Hard 8,000 times," because they did like how many minutes he was working at Dunder Mifflin.
Yes.
But Steve Carell didn't know that they were gonna sing.
Oh.
So they were really singing because this was his last day of filming.
Wow.
So I mean, and he starts crying in the scene. And, I mean, he was crying for real because it was all of his, essentially, coworkers in real life and in the show were singing goodbye to him.
Yeah.
Which I just always thought was such a cool scene. I do like that real reactiveness.
Yeah,
too.
I do. I think that's a great thing to add when you can. Can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
But when you can surprise an actor, or a lot of times, too, a lot of child actors, they don't tell them exactly what's going to happen. And then they either scare them, which is always fun. It's always great to scare kids.
Or just beat them.
Or tell them that their parents don't love them.
Yeah,
it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's, oh, by the way, your parents called and they say they don't love you anymore.
Yeah, you're adopted now. Run through this hallway with this camera.
Right, exactly. So, so that's really the final. That was my thing, is I would not turn the channel. I might sit down and watch a little bit of it, but probably wouldn't watch the whole movie again.
Yeah,
so
I think I'm
that's
saying.
probably yours. Okay.
So,
next movie.
It's the one. It's
the one.
The one. The movie.
Okay.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast. Oh, it's the next one. Yes.
Well, I'm saying this is like the movie.
Oh, really?
This is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
And I realize how ridiculously stupid the movie is and how there's terrible dialogue in this movie.
There's really
There's
bad dialogue.
terrible stunts. There's terrible cars. But it all just comes together. I'm trying to figure out how to describe this movie.
Well, we can talk about it in our next podcast.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that'd probably make more sense. So I have a week to think about what to describe this movie as. I hope you're on the edge of your seat. What am I going to describe Too Fast, Too Furious as?
I don't know.
Tune in next episode.
Next bat time, next bat channel, same bat time, same bat channel. I don't know, whatever.
That
used to be
that was barely cohesive. I mean, barely.
So I'm like getting into Gary Busey
I think you're sundowning. I think you're losing it.
Oh, I've been losing it for a long time, my friend.
That's
Yes.
going to be a long one.
It
All right.
is.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much for listening. Smokey and the Bandit.
All right, coming up
Next
next.
episode, Too Fast, Too Furious. Goodbye.
All right, bye.